This is Kinch, and I'm going to show you a match using the Stompy deck against Affinity. I've been looking for decks to play. I was mostly interested in. I've been playing a lot of Affinity, but I'm not sure that I want to continue to play that. And I started playing with a blue-black control deck, which I don't think is good for the current meta. I might go back to it. And my other choice has been Stompy, which is the top of the one of the top decks in the current meta game. The reason I think I took it was it's a fairly straightforward idea of a deck. It's very aggressive. You want to get your opponent dead pretty quick, but it's not uncomplicated. There's a ton of tricks and other techniques that you need to be really aware of in the deck. And I've been learning a lot playing it. I played about 10 matches, and my head just about explodes every time afterwards. I see all these mistakes that I've made. I've got this notebook. I don't even call it a notebook. It's a this note with all these notes here at the bottom of just a couple of things I need to take care of when I'm playing against playing Stompy. These are the main cards in the deck. There's all sorts of Stompy decks out there with different builds, but the core of the deck is pretty unchanging. There's usually 4 Nettle Sentinels, 4 Carry-On Rangers. The Rangers can untap elves and bring forest back to your hand, which is another trick. Young Wolf is in a lot of them. I'm not sure, it's not a 100% include, but you see it an awful lot because it's usually, if it dies, it comes back as a 2/2. A Pit Skulk, which is a basic 1/1, but it can be a 2/2 if you have it timed right. Gather Courage is a pump spell using Convoke, so if you're tapped out, you could still play it. Especially handy with things like Nettle Sentinel and Carry-On Ranger, and all sorts of crazy stuff can happen with it. Groundswell, another pump spell, cheap pump spell. Almost always a 4 of. Hunger of the Hellpack, I think a lot of people run 3. It puts +1/+1 counters on your creatures. And the other one that's almost in all of them is Rancor. It's cheap enchantment, +2, gives trample, comes back to your hand. If you stick it on the battlefield, it'll not die. If it goes to the graveyard, it'll kick back to your hand. But those are just kind of the basics. There's all sorts of other builds. I use Shinin of Life's Roar, which I think is a very strong card, but not every deck does. It's all dependent. It's all very player dependent. This is a match against Affinity, which is like the second time I've played Affinity with Stompy, and I've won both matches, but they're really close, and I made a ton of mistakes, especially in this one. So I'm looking at this hand. I think I kept this. This is you can do a lot of tricks with the Carry-On Ranger to bring things into your hand, but since she's my only creature, maybe I threw this back, because I don't really remember this game. I just played this game not too long ago, too. Would I keep this? Go Forest, Carry-On Ranger. Turn 2, if I don't have a forest, I could still make 2 plays, because you could tap the forest, activate Carry-On Ranger's ability, bring the forest back to your hand, lay it down, tap it for mana. So you have 2. I mean, you could put Rancor, and conceivably, if even with these cards on turn 2, I could be hitting for 3 + 2. So, actually, +4, 7. I'd be hitting somebody for 7 with this deck, because of the Groundswell and the Rancor. I don't remember what I did here. I might have shipped this back. I did ship it back. I didn't want to have a play him with just Carry On Ranger, and this is a better Nettle Sentinel. So this is pretty typical. Hit for 2 on my turn. Now, if I had a Pit Skulk, I could drop it and make it a 2/2, but I don't. I think I'd drop the Vault Scourge here. Now, this particular card is a bit of a debatable. I'm not sold on it. I've got 3 in my deck. I think that's probably too many. If I'm thinking 3 is too many, then it's probably should be 0. It's really good on your opening hand if you have like a Pit Skull, because you're almost guaranteed to get in for the damage. It's a 1/1 flyer. But beyond that, yeah, it's not something you want to draw later. Although it does have evasion, but yeah, I don't know. I'd probably rather have a Silhana Ledgewalker than the Scourge, but I'm still... Jury's still out. I mean, it performed well for me in this game, but not my favorite. Kind of a typical... If Affinity doesn't have creatures to play out, they put all sorts of stuff and draw cards and all of a sudden explode. So, as far as Stompy is concerned, I'm going to try to... well, that was on the stack, because Nettle Sentinel doesn't untap. Unless you play a green spell, then you can untap it. Which is a little bit of a... You might think that's a drawback. But given this deck, you're almost never going to have a Nettle Sentinel tapped and unable to untap. So it's a 2/2 for 1, which is a pretty nice beater. So I want to try to get as much damage as possible, as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, I don't really have any really good pump spells. The Hunger of the Howlpack, I tend to get greedy and wait for something to die, because it's just 1/1 counter. Unless something died that turn, then it's a 3 1/1 counters. So I like to kind of get greedy with that, because +1/+1 just isn't that back-breaking or game-breaking at all. Down to 15. Fear me. He has no board yet, but he's drawn cards like a SOB. Okay, finally something. Mirror Enforcer. And he is not quite tapped out, because he can still tap the Enforcer, but he probably doesn't want to, because then he would have to take some damage. Alright, so I draw a Groundswell, which basically means, well, I don't have any land to activate that. If I had a Carry On Ranger, I could do a little dance, pulling the forest back in my hand and dropping it, thereby enabling the Groundswell. But I don't have that now. But I think I don't really want to trade my Nettle Sentinel for the Mirror Enforcer. And I don't mind trading the Young Wolf, because the Young Wolf becomes better. So I think I just swing with these two and not play a spell to untap the Sentinel yet. Yep. That's the thinking. So he blocks with the Enforcer, which really, most people smartly will just let the Young Wolf in. It's only a 1/1. You're just making this card better for me. So, I mean, not that I was just testing it when I did this. I just wanted to see what he would do. If he didn't block with it at some point, I would just block with the young wolf when he comes in on something. So that was just kind of a testing the water. So that just indicates to me that my opponent isn't quite either knowledgeable about the card or something. And then now that enables Hunger of the Hellpack because the young wolf died. And so now I'm putting this on who did I target? The Nettle Sentinel. The beauty of that now is that he's 5/5 and he's out of Galvanic Blast range. So I like that play. That's a good play for me. Liking my board. And now, Affinity, 4 cards in hand. Plays a creature, draws a card, plays a creature. Oh, that wasn't too bad. He's got 12 power and toughness on the board now. This is kind of annoying. And then he doesn't swing, which was like weird to me. He could have swung with the Enforcer. I said the young wolf. Well, he would have died to the Nettle Sentinel. I guess that's what. So that's telling me that he doesn't have. Currently doesn't have Galvanic Blast in his hand. At least that's the way I read it here, looking at this. Otherwise, he would have swung with this and killed this. He'll certainly trade a Mirror Enforcer for the Nettle Sentinel, because that would just leave me with these really gimpy little things on the board. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. It could be mind gaming me. So swing with a Scourge, gaining life. Ooh. So the question is, do you play this Ledge Walker or the Shinin? And if I play the Shinin has this it makes if it swings, everything has to block it. So the other ones can go in. I don't have enough damage. If I was to draw a land, I would be able to do 4, 9, 10, 12 damage, and he's at 13. So I don't think the Shinin's the right play yet. So I should play the Ledge Walker, which I do. You can just draw so many cards with Affinity. It's a crazy deck. It's really explosive. And he doesn't swing again. I don't know what I mean, I guess he's scared of a channeled Shinin. And in that case, I wouldn't have nearly enough mana to do what I needed to do to get... Because right now I've got 8, 9 damage. But, I mean, I can't get through this. If I was to channel one thing, like, you know, a 1/1, like the Ledge Walker, I would still only get in 7, 8. And then no way to get 5 more damage. So that's a curious thing, but maybe he's playing real safe. Doesn't want to lose his stuff. I mean, I don't really have any. And again, I guess that just means he doesn't have a Bolt. Galvanic Blast, I mean. But I think I'm proven wrong here at some point. He hasn't drawn anything. And I got another Hunger of the Hellpack. So he can't block the Ledge Walker or the Scourge, so that's why I go through here. Did I try to get greedy here? Nope, now he's down to 11. Now you play a Shinin. Now if I can get next attack phase, now if I can swing unimpeded, I got 3, 8, 9 damage plus at least 2. So that gets me to 11, right? Yep, this gets me to 11. Um, if something gets shot down, that gets me 3 more. So I would net everything except for Nettle Sentinel, which I don't really have a way to kill with 3 cards in hand. So anyway, that's well, he's gonna draw 1 too. So I'm threatening to win next turn, and this is where things get tricky. Starts drawing cards like a SOB. So he swings with everybody now, and now I was like thinking, oh my gosh, now what? So he's swinging with 14 power. That would take me down to 8. If he has 2 galvanic blasts in his hand, which he can play, I would then lose if I don't block anything. But he's got 3 cards in hand, so I can't let 12 power go through. I have to stop. I have to stop some of it. He's also got a way to draw into some more. I mean, he could throw away. I mean, he has 1 more draw. So for all intents and purposes, he's got 4 cards. You would tap, say, the black or the blue and make it red and throw away the chromatic star. And, well, now that I'm looking at this, yeah, he could do 3 galvanic blasts because there's 1 red on the board. The prophetic prism would give you another red. The chromatic star could change another into red. So it's possible for me to die that way. Even 2. Well, I think it's just safe to assume that he can do 12. It's a possibility that the Affinity player could do 12 damage just on the galvanic blasts. So you have to let in less than 10. So I have to block a 4/4 and the Frogmite. So that was my thinking. So I block an Enforcer and a Frogmite. The other thing I was thinking is like how all this works out in the math wise. I don't think I can kill him on the swing back. So, I mean, if this survives, I'll have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guaranteed. And I would need either a land or another pump spell. Or actually, no. What would happen is like the young wolf's going to die, so I'm going to put the Hunger of the Howlpack on. And what I should put it on is Silhana, because she's hexproof. This is important because I screw this up. Okay, so now there's a blast on the Nettle Sentinel. I don't think there's a way for me to save the Nettle Sentinel. Because he's got 8 damage incoming. And I can only pump him for 8. So he's dead. So I just gotta let him die. And the Mirror Enforcer will die, but that's immaterial. And the Young Wolf and the Frogmite will die, leaving me with this. There's just no way to save that. Okay, now I have the Hunger of the Howlpack is active, so what do I put it on? You should put it on the Ledge Walker. But I was thinking of how close all the damage was, and I was thinking, oh, lifelink. It was stupid. But I can guarantee, he can't even block this thing. I can guarantee this being a 4/4, and then 6. It's just a silly thing. So I play it on. Yes, okay, that's smart. Duh. Okay, makes sense, right? Now I have Gather Courage and Groundswell. So that's 4. 8 9. I can't quite kill him. So I'm not going to use those spells. I'm just going to swing. Oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, I'm trying to get life. That's why I'm doing this. This is silly. This is a greed move, trying to get life with a Vault Scourge. And now I go, okay, well, let's do it again. I put the groundswell on it. And there's the Galvanic Blast. So I wasted 2 cards. I got 3 for 1 on that. If I just stick it on here, I would get 8, 9, 10 damage. And then they would have... There's no way to get rid of the Ledgewalker. It's a 4/4. If he gets a flyer, okay. But the flyer would still have to block the Shinin. So this is bad. I win, easily win. Put it all on the Ledgewalker and swing. I mean, after this, yeah, bad. It's hexproof. I forgot that it was hexproof in the middle of all this, and I was getting greedy with the life. Gets him down to 6. So now I could have totally screwed that game over, but I get lucky. So that was a big mistake. And I knew it like right immediately afterwards. It was just a greed play. So I remember thinking, well, I hope he doesn't have both his Galvanic Blasts. Alright, so now I can play this for kicker on this, and the game's over. Drawing that's obviously a win. He can't target this. He can't. Only the Hover Guard can block it, but the Shinin forces the Hover Guard to block the Shinin. So this is game over. But had I played correctly the first time, I would have not needed to top deck anything. So I won. I mean, I should have won this game, but I didn't win it correctly. I deserve to lose. He's like trying to I guess he was going to try to fling the Silhana. It's like, nope. So I win. Alright. Now I have to go and find this other game because of this. So it's a little there's a lot of room for making mistakes like that. And so I've got little notes to myself: do the math, make sure you know what you're doing with your pump spells. There are some spells that you just need to tap something to cast. So you could be tapped out to do it, and there are ways of and even if all your creatures are tapped, there are ways to untap one and tap it back, and all sorts of crazy stuff that you can do. So you have to kind of know all these possibilities and be ready to play them. And it seems like a really simple deck, but damn, it's pretty complicated. All right, so this is an easy keep, I think. I mean, I'm always happy, I think, if I see Nettle Sentinel in my opening hand. It's just a beating. So. I don't like seeing... Whenever I play Affinity, I never draw Great Furnaces until it's way too late. I'm always like starved for red mana. I have tons of red spells. But my opponents always seem to be able to draw the Great Furnaces. every damn time. And all their burn. So, I don't know if I would have... Well, I guess he must have had a thought cast in hand. I don't know what his hand was to keep, but I would think he would have thrown it back a little bit more, something a little bit more explosive. But there you are. I mean, so the play here is Forest, Ranker, Swing. If he decides to block the Sentinel, I'll pump it. But I don't know. He probably doesn't want to do that. He's only got 4 permanents right now. I don't think he wants to do that. And the reason I don't mind using a pump here is that Ranker gives the Sentinel trample. So all that damage is going to go straight over. I'm really looking for the bottom here to keep the Nettle Sentinel alive. So I'm okay. Young Wolf is good, but it's not that big of a deal if I don't get to play it. I will get a bunch of damage in, but if not, I'll just not pump, save my combat trick, and then play the Young Wolf. Oh. So I didn't play the Young Wolf here, and now I remember. If I had had Gather Courage, which you can play with Convoke, I would have played the Young Wolf, but I kept this up for Vines of Vastwood. I didn't want the Nettle Sentinel to die to a Galvanic Blast. And I just thought it was okay. I'd have to go and look at the games and the math and the risk and reward, but this is the decision is like, do I play the Young Wolf, which is only going to be a 1/1, and probably not going to get blocked stupidly by my opponent again, although I could use it as a blocker. But there's really nothing he's going to swing into it with right now. Or just make sure that I can keep my Nettle Sentinel, which is my biggest threat right now. So that's what I decided to do, is to keep the Nettle Sentinel. If he tries to bolt, I'll play Vines on him. This is another thing that happens with my opponents that doesn't happen when I play Affinity. It's like I never draw like multiple Frog Mites early into Mirror Enforcer, Carapace Forger. Look at all of a sudden he's got a board. Deck's nuts. Although I will say I'd much rather deal with this than having ATOG on the board. So I think I'm okay with not playing the Young Wolf there. And now you play the Young Wolf to untap the Sentinel. And I swing here, right? I have Groundswell, which is a +4/+4. And if he gang blocks me, I can also play well, I guess just the Groundswell would make him an 8/6. And I could Hunger of the Hellpack him, depending. I just think it would be a good trade for me. So I'm pretty sure I just swing right into this. So I think my opponent thinks, yeah. And I went ahead and Groundswelled to get some damage in. I think he pretty much understood that there was a trick going on there. And now I can block pretty profitably with the Vines and the Hunger and the Young Wolf. Alright, so how do you... Oh, let me make sure he's actually making that attack. My opponent's on 8. Um, there could be trouble if he's got a Galvanic Blast. Because if I just chump with the Young Wolf, which I'm going to do, I'm going to take 8. I'm not really worried about my life total. All I'm worried about is the swing back. If I then decide to use Hunger the Hell Pack, it's going to be a wreck, because if he's got the Galvanic Blast, then I'm going to lose the Sentinel and that card. So you block like this, you let the Young Wolf come back. This I'm now remembering what I did. And then you play Hunger of the Hell Pack on the Wolf. So now I have a 4/4 swinging in. You know, this Vines of Vastwood is going to be a +4/+4. So so that way either one of those creatures would be lethal. He's got 2 cards in hand. So if I do that, he decides to bolt the wolf. Okay. He's not going to have access to more than 1 red mana. He's only going to have 1 spell. So I wouldn't lose both. I would just lose the wolf. So now I think I do in fact play at the end step. There's no blockers. He didn't play a creature. So I'm basically seeing if he's got the... and he lets it go. So does he have... Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? So I'm swinging for lethal here. I don't even need to pump these guys. So if he's got something... Okay. And now after this game I thought, oh, what if he had had 2 Galvanic Blasts? But he can't play them. But, so it doesn't really matter who I pump here. He's targeting the Nettle Sentinel, by the way. Because that would keep him alive. But afterwards I thought, oh, he had another card. If it was another Galvanic Blast, then it matters who I cast the Vines on. Because if I cast the Vines on the Nettle Sentinel to save it and he has another Galvanic Blast, this is all theoretical, then he would just blast it again and I would lose it and he would still be alive. And he'd be swinging back for 12. And my life total's 10. So that would be a big mistake. The mistake I did make, but then now that I'm looking at it, it wasn't actually a mistake because he didn't have the red mana. But and if he had boarded in Doom Blades, I'd be dead too. But it doesn't really matter at this point. But if he had had 2 of these, so my pump here is wrong. I should just pump the Young Wolf because the Young Wolf was way out of range, and there's no way for it to die. And then he gave up. So I should not have Vinesed the Nettle Sentinel. I should have Vinesed the Young Wolf instead. But there's a ton of things like that where you can make mistakes that are kind of crucial. I mean, a game like this is really close. I mean, if I don't get this right, I'm dead. He's got 12 on the board. I have 10. Plus, he's always got, these Galvanic Blasts that should do 4 damage. So you really have to be careful with this deck and make all sorts of calculations. And it's hard. It's really hard. It might not seem it, but I don't think I could do justice to the complications that arise when you play the deck. But it is fun. I'm enjoying it. It's compared to a. I like aggressive decks. I'd like to try to play control every once in a while, but in the current Pauper meta game, you either got to go for the long term combo thing, but or aggression. Mid range doesn't really work currently. Because I've tried to play this mid range UB Trinket deck, but it just gets rolled, at least the way I play it, by the Cloud Post decks. Apparently, you can't play them very well, but it takes a lot of skill and knowledge, which I don't have. I just been getting rolled by those, so that and me not drawing duress and distress at the right time. So I've been kind of concentrating on Stompy because Stompy does pretty well against those Cloud Post decks. Anyway, that was my matches or games and my mistakes, and I will make some more at some other point.